Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. I'm John Ledyard, along with my boss, Scott Reynolds, here on a Victory Monday by 6 minutes. Scott, we made it live for a Victory Monday by 6 minutes before this clock turns to Victory Tuesday.
That's right.
6-2. It feels good. The way 6-2 happened maybe doesn't feel great, Scott, but 6-2 feels good, right?
Yeah, it certainly does. And, that was an ugly win. And I kind of thought it was going to be where we talked about this on Wednesday during our preview of this game, John. I kind of said the Giants are a sticky team. They stick to you. They kind of hang around. They make it closer than it should be. And I tell you, the Buccaneers had a couple opportunities, a couple fourth downs, a dropped Levante David interception away from just icing it. In getting the score to more of what I thought it was going to be. I think I predicted 30-17. It was 25-17. Then all of a sudden, the last-minute touchdown, and Antoine Winfield gets to put on the hero cape, and the Buccaneers escape from New York with a ugly win. But you know what? There's no such thing as an ugly win. Right? 6-2 Buccaneers.
That's true. But
And
let me tell
John,
you about the most valuable player tonight.
All right, hold on 1 second. Let me just get to this real quick.
Valuable player for the Bucs. You go ahead.
Yeah, before I forget, okay, I'm going to take you back to the Super Bowl year, folks. Right, your fabled 2002 Super Bowl team: Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, Keyshawn Johnson, Simeon Rice, and all of that. Well, here's a couple of scores for you from that year, just to kind of put things in perspective. Okay, they beat the Cleveland Browns that year 17-3. They beat the Carolina Panthers that year 12-9. They beat the Detroit Lions that year 23-20. I think it was a Carl Williams punt return for a touchdown that got them that ugly win up in Detroit. And without Brad Johnson, they had Rob Johnson in on a cold, blustering night in December 29th. Not even in Chicago, but in Champaign, Illinois, John. That's when the Soldier Field was getting renovated. They beat a very bad Bears team 15-0. 5 field goals for Martin Gramatica. They couldn't even get in the end zone that game. So sometimes on the road to the playoffs, sometimes on the road to the Super Bowl, you need some ugly wins. And I think the one thing we heard from Bruce Arians, John, was this was a game that they lost in Chicago on Thursday night.
Yeah.
It was an ugly game. The offense wasn't clicking. The defense wasn't making enough plays. But you know what? They found a way to win a very similar game, and that's the difference. They won this one. They lost that one in Chicago.
Right. Let me tell you about the player who was the MVP for the Bucs tonight, Scott. He didn't play for the Bucs. Played for the Giants. His name was Daniel Jones.
That's
and
right.
I think you're spot on about there's no, you have to win ugly at one strike. It doesn't matter how good you are. Most of the time you go through a season, you win ugly. And actually most of the time, you look back at these last couple Super Bowl winners. Most of the time, you have a bad loss. To be honest, maybe that's what the Bears ends up being. I don't know, but this was a game that I thought they had to win. We talked about this on the podcast. I said on the show, 24-9. Like I thought it would be tough sledding. I didn't think this was going to be a blowout win. I know in people's minds, you blow out the Packers and the Raiders, you should blow out the Giants, but that's rarely how it works in the NFL. It just doesn't always work that way. It's hard to blow out people.
They only got blown out one time. That was by the 49ers. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers close in week 1. They lost by 10. They lost 17-9 to the Rams. Their only win was a close one against the Washington football team. They had a couple of close losses.
They played everybody tough.
Yeah.
And that doesn't excuse it, though. And I'll get back to my point. I mean, I think Daniel Jones, if he isn't the Giants quarterback, and if really most other quarterbacks in the league, including probably a Nick Foles type of quarterback, plays tonight, the Bucs lose this game. And it might not have been that close. I mean, the defense, here they are in the second half getting stops. There's dudes wide open on all these stops for touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, wide open, man. 3 straight drives. And 2 of those ended in interceptions, and the other one was a 3-and-out. But there's guys wide open behind court. I mean, so it was a bad night for the Tampa Bay defense. It was a worse night than an already too close for comfort score and box score indicated that it was. But they come away with the victory. And if it hadn't been for Daniel Jones throwing 2 silly interceptions, missing multiple throws down the field, and being even a little bit late with that 2-point conversion, I still think Winfield made a heck of a play. But those were the difference. That was honestly the difference in the game. If we're being completely unbiased and honest in this game, that was the difference.
Yes, you're exactly right. And again, it's like you look at Tom Brady, and it took him a while to really warm up. I mean, it was a cold night, but Brady's used to the cold. Maybe he's used to the heat now in Tampa. Maybe it took him a little while to get warmed up. He came out with 2 touchdown passes to his guys, Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski, in the second half. That really proved to be the difference. But the other difference maker for Brady was no interceptions, right? I mean, that's key. And you saw those 2 interceptions from Daniel Jones. That's something, John, that you just talked about, and also Bruce Arians mentioned in the conference call that we just got off of a second ago. He says, he's like, you can't make those type of interceptions. He's in the grass both times. Shaq Barrett's right there with the pressure, and you either got to eat it and take the sack, or you got to throw it away. And he didn't, and that was costly. And thankfully for Sean Murphy-Bunting and for Carlton Davis, they came up with some big interceptions that were needed in this win.
That was that wasn't that interesting. Arians' comments after the game. I mean, you don't often hear the opposing coach say, "Oh, those 2 interceptions probably cost him the game," and that young quarterback's got to make a different play. I mean, he went on to compliment Jones too, and then he plays in a way that suggests he can, feels like he can win any game. And so I get where he's coming from, but it was funny to hear him say it because he's absolutely right. Like, that was probably the reason. He knows they probably didn't play well enough to win that game, and I think that's something that, like we said, the Bears game, this was so reminiscent to the Bears game in so many ways. Even like the missed opportunities down the field, Foles, like they had a couple opportunities down the field, Foles didn't hit, but all the free receptions underneath, just the uncontested stuff, playing off coverage, not adjusting, pass rush not being dominant enough, but also the ball was getting out quick, trying to be fair to the pass rush, and so I think it was so similar defensively to how that game went. And then, but I think the difference in this game was I thought the Bucs offense responded in the second half in a way that they didn't against the Bears, really. I thought in the game against the Bears, they just kind of continued to sputter in the second half. And I really think the Bucs offense played well enough to win this game. Had the defense done their part. I mean, obviously they win, so they did enough of their part. But I think the offense played well enough to win. Like I said, I thought they were going to have 24 points. I think the Giants defense is tough. I think they've played people tough all year. And I thought that just as they did, the Bucs would try to establish that run, and it wouldn't work, and it didn't. He stuck with it. Almost.
Yeah, they really did. And it got to the point where it was so predictable. They were literally wasting first down in the second half. And again, Bruce Arians comes out after the game. I asked him the question, why'd you keep running on first down when you were getting no yards, 1 yard, 2 yards? And he says, well, we needed to maintain the play action. I mean, that's a fallacy, really. You can fake the run, and it's proven to be just as effective as actually handing off to the running back. So, I'll say this too. Another difference maker in this game was, if you go back to last year, John, the Buccaneers had a chance to beat the Giants, and they had a missed field goal, right, by Matt Gay. He was perfect that entire game, and then he missed what was an easy 34-yard chip shot, really. That's less than an extra point in this day and age. And, he missed it in the south end zone. Ryan Suckup, I mean, 4 for 4 tonight. He made the extra points that he was put out there to make. And this guy is connecting on 88% of his field goals this year. And keep in mind, he had his first one blocked. It wasn't even his fault. So, I mean, he has been absolutely
Mark's going to be ticked that you're bringing this up, but
I know, but
Mark's gonna be so mad when he listens to this podcast.
Gotta give the guy credit. I gotta give him credit. That's just how it is. Yeah. John,
I completely agree with you. He's played phenomenal.
Yeah, I think we need to recognize a couple of super chats here that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's pull them up here.
Yeah, for sure. Cali Bucs, appreciate the contributions. By the way, for everybody jumping in here, if you're jumping in and you aren't familiar with what we do, Pewter Report Podcast, you can search just Pewter Report TV on YouTube. YouTube. We go live 4 days a week. 4 p.m. we'll be live the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, talking more about this game, and then big previews of the Saints game. Hope to have a guest on this week as well. We had awesome guests with Eric Crocker talking Bucs DBs. You can go back and listen to that one if you want. Eric Crocker was outstanding talking about the Bucs DBs, and I know a lot of you have questions about the Bucs DBs tonight. If you want to send those questions our way, go ahead. If you want a super chat donation or drop us a donation, we really appreciate that as well. That helps a ton with the process of going live 4 days a week and all the work putting into the show. So we appreciate those contributions from y'all greatly tonight.
Hey, John,
and
it's interesting because Callie Buck makes the point about Jamel Dean being a liability, and I wouldn't say he's a liability because he's made some plays this year for sure.
Yeah,
but I think maybe we're seeing why Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, doesn't have him in the starting lineup just yet. He has a tendency to peek into the backfield and not stick with the receivers, and we even saw Sean Murphy Bunting do that on the last touchdown. That's
the problem, right?
Yeah. And it's like
that's the problem. It's kind of both of them.
It is. I think Carlton Davis has gotten over that, right? That's kind of something that a lot of rookie cornerbacks do. And now these guys are in their second year. But listen, I'm a defensive minded guy. I've never coached DBs in my life, but I've been around enough of DBs coaches that they tell you if you're in man coverage, the receiver's going to tell you when the ball comes, right? Because he's going to put his hands up and his eyes are going to get really big. And when you see that, that's when you make a play on the ball. And to the Giants' credit, they did that tonight. I mean, they made some fantastic plays. They had 3 batted balls, including one of Scotty Miller and Mike Evans. That would have been big plays down the left sidelines for the Bucs. But that's how you play defensive back. And I think that's kind of been the Achilles heel a little bit for Sean Murphy Bunting and for Jamel Dean. These opportunities where they're peeking in the backfield and not plastering to their receivers. And if Daniel Jones was more accurate, John, on a couple of those deep shots, the Bucs would have been in some real trouble tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think a couple of things. It's important to remember the larger sample size. Sometimes as evaluators, we need to be really careful of it. But also, as fans, if you're looking to have I think what a strong, well-educated opinion, it's interesting with Jamel Dean because he has been really good all season long almost without fault until that Raiders play last week, really. And then last couple of weeks, there's been some bumps in the road. So there are times where, yes, he could be concerning. I think we've recognized an issue with him that he has to work on and get better at. He's still also really good at other things. He had a really bad game tonight. The larger sample size for Dean's career still says he's a very good player.
Right.
The larger sample size for Sean Murphy Bunting says not so much so far, and especially this season. And we saw it late in the game tonight, letting a receiver behind you in that situation. It's just not something that you can do. And again, he's got his eyes, he's got those, both of them have to realize you need to flip your hips and get vertical a little bit sooner. If you don't have to bail out completely, but you have to be able to flip your hips as you recognize and read a receiver's route and be able to get vertical with these guys. And you can't be giving up big plays over your head. We saw it earlier this season with Sean Murphy Bunting against the Chargers. But the sample size for Dean, I think, is still really strong. So while I do say, you're right that might be why Todd Bowles isn't playing him more, the reality is I'm not sure that Murphy Bunting is a better option, nor does he have the upside that Dean does, I think, most of the time. And so that's why I would still think it's a good process to keep playing Dean, but he's got to work on that. He's going to get double moved a ton until and late in the game, he did. After he got beat a couple times, he adjusted and he stayed on top of a route that Daniel Jones wanted in the red zone on another double move, a slant and go. And so you already saw some process, but it's part of the process. You know what I mean? With these guys, they're still growing and they're still learning.
And who else is still growing, John? The Monday Night Football announcers who called the Buccaneers the Patriots. They called them New England 3 times tonight.
I didn't even hear that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I heard it once, but I was focused on obviously writing and covering. But yeah, apparently Big Earn, we appreciate the super chat there. It's a new Monday Night crew, and I guess when you have Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, old habits die hard. But yeah, it's certainly the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-2.
Right.
Those New England Patriots, last time I checked, are 2-5.
Right. I'm just being honest with you about this one here too, Scott. I really, to me, I know I'm totally with everybody in the issues in coverage. I totally get it. We've talked about it here. I think we'll keep talking about it. I don't think this group, in coverage in the NFL, you were going to get beat, period. What really concerned me tonight was that I did not feel like the Bucs won up front. That shocked me. I really thought this was a team that was going to win up front in this game. I mean, there were moments of pressure, and I know the ball was coming out late, but I did not think, and I know Shaq Barrett's going to get credit, and he did get a good pressure on that first interception. The second interception, he was locked up. Daniel Jones rolls right into him, leaves the pocket, drops way too deep, and rolls right into him for pressure. I did not think he played well enough. I will give Jason Pierre-Paul credit. He came out in the second half and played much better after what I thought was
the end, though. He was gassed.
Right. I think they all
that's the problem, John. The problem is they have two pass rushers. That's it. They got Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. And they couldn't pull Jason Pierre-Paul because they didn't have anybody that could get to the quarterback if they take him off the field. And he had a sack himself. He helped Ndamukong Suh get a sack. But if you go back and look, he literally, the ball is snapped. He is standing up and just dancing with Andrew Thomas because he is absolutely gassed. Right. And I think that and John, I read your 4 trade deadline deals, and one of those deals wasn't necessarily a trade that I liked. I like the idea of getting Clay Matthews, especially this late in the season. If you're going to go all in, get a guy that can help you for a dozen snaps a game. And we can talk about the lack of pass rush, the lack of interior run defense too, as Daniel Sage points out. The run defense, they gave up 101 yards rushing. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you only give up 66 per game, that's a lot. And they had 62 yards at halftime. So
and the Giants can't run the ball, and they're on their third string running back, and their offensive line's missing multiple starters, and they're the worst. It just the Giants were consistently getting 4, 5, 6 yards a pop on first down, and it was allowing them to stay in these second and third manageables where they could take a shot. They can be unpredictable, and that's the spot I wrote about at the beginning of the year. You want to get there as an offense. That's why the Bucs have been so bad on first down most of the year. That's why if they didn't have Brady being superhero a lot of the time and converting second and third in disadvantageous situations, then I don't think their offense would be even what it is right now. And that's what the Giants don't have Brady, but they were able to win first down so consistently that they were hardly ever in bad situations. And then even at the end of the game when they were, that didn't go well for the Bucs either. You
know who's in a bad situation this weekend? This guy.
No,
I did not have a good weekend at my bookie. I did not.
No.
You know what, John?
Because of Kansas State.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, but you know what? You know what else?
What?
There's another weekend coming up in just a couple days. Because we're already on to Tuesday now. So I got another weekend of football. You're right. Redemption's coming for Scott Reynolds. But listen, folks, it's time for that MyBookie spot now. So if you'll humor me for a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you all about MyBookie. Ever since I started out, people have been asking me all kind of advice on all sorts of things related to sports. And it's usually about who's going to win and what team they should bet on. Well, the best piece of advice I can give to anyone is where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. And I can say that with conviction because I've been playing MyBookie for 3 years now. They're not just a sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. I'm actually someone who uses MyBookie for my winning edge, and I'm still up for the year, which is good, even though I took a bath this weekend. But that's why I tell people to visit MyBookie. They've got deposit matches, free bets, huge cash prize contests for you to take advantage of all season long. NFL action? Check. College football? Check. Plus, they got a mobile-friendly website, top-of-the-line customer service, making their platform the one-stop shop for all your betting needs. Now, MyBookie offers action on everything from championship futures to NFL in-game live betting, making sure that you're covered every step of the way. Sign up today at MyBookie. When you do, use our promo code PEWTER to claim a halfway match on your deposit. That means if you put in $200, they're going to spot you another $100 to play with. It's a bonus designed to give you a little bit of help and a head start in your winning season. That's promo code PEWTER, so you can claim your halfway bonus when you make your initial deposit. Stacked UFC cards, presidential prop bets for tomorrow, and all the major sports await you at MyBookie. Sign up today and begin your winning season exclusively at MyBookie.
Scott, we talked about, you mentioned quickly, and I just wanted to plug real quick for anybody because there were some comments and people asking, but that article I wrote about the trade deadline and 4 moves the Bucs could make was mostly centered around edge rusher help, although there was a player that I think the Bucs could trade that was currently on the roster too. But that's over at pewterreport.com. You can check that out, and you can check out kind of some of the players that I had kind of targeted for the Bucs. We may talk about that tomorrow a little bit too, although especially if there's anything to report. But going back to this game, Scott, I think one of the things that got overlooked as I was just kind of watching the social media fallout from the game was Tom Brady, and Tony Bo says it. Brady carried the second half, and Brady,
he really did.
Their second half was field goal, touchdown. They had a punt in there, and then touchdown to field goal again. And then they had the kneel at the end of the game. But I mean, that was their second half. So they scored on 4 or 5 drives in the second half. Yes, you'd like him to finish a couple more of those drives in the end zone. Don't think that was really on him, that the fact that they didn't. I honestly thought in the first half, you go back to the big play at Mickens. Everybody sees it live, and they just see it. It looks like Mickens is by himself, and Brady misses him wide open. Instead, it was zone coverage, and Brady sees the underneath defender blocking Mickens where he sits down, and he throws it to where Mickens should be, and Mickens isn't there. And that's the kind of stuff people miss if you're not paying attention to and that's fine for fans to miss it. That's fine.
And you know what?
But
John, Chris Godwin makes that play. Chris Godwin continues that and makes that play.
And that's been honestly the big knock on Mickens. If you ask Ted Wynn over at The Athletic, who covered him when Mickens was with the Raiders, is that finding those zone spaces has never come naturally to him. And so when he missed him, it looked bad from the broadcast on Brady, but it wasn't Brady's fault. And then Mickens drops a pass and Fournette drops a pass. And so, I mean, you have guys making mistakes like they did early in the season. And I thought Brady honestly just got so frustrated in the Bears game, especially the last drive of the game. I just think he was frustrated. I think last year in New England, he was frustrated with guys. And tonight, I thought he just hung in there, man. He just hung in there. The offensive line was great. They gave him all kinds of time for the vast majority of the game. Guys,
when he got sacked, it was coverage sacks.
Right. When he got sacked, it was coverage sacks. And honestly, you're going to have that. You're not going to go. I know everybody's kind of setting this expectation that he hadn't gotten sacked since the Chicago game and barely been touched since the Chicago game. And that's just not realistic. You're going to get sacked in the NFL. Like, a blitz is going to get through. Somebody hot's not going to come open. So you got to be able to limit those things, I think. And I think he did for the most part tonight. Giants have been a good team at getting pressure. We said that on the show before. We knew there was going to have to be some situations where they were overcame some sacks, and he was able to do that tonight. I thought he had a great performance down the stretch. It was the reason. It wasn't Fournette. It wasn't Mike Evans just all of a sudden dominating. It wasn't any one skill player. Chris Godwin ain't out there. Antonio Brown's not out there yet. It was Tom Brady. He was awesome down the stretch.
Yeah, and a huge throw-in catch to and by Tyler Johnson. Converting that was a big play. The thing is we just had a couple of comments I put up there. Byron Leftwich did not call a good game. I did not like his commitment to the run on first down. I think that against a better team, that's going to end up costing you. It's just wasted downs. If it's not running, and it's like, listen, the scouting report on the Giants is easy. Don't run up the middle. That's the strength of their team, the defensive tackles and Blake Martinez. And we talked about Blake Martinez in Wednesday's podcast. I featured him in the SR's Fat Five. Guess what? He forced a fumble. Turned out to be a huge play in the game. Ronald Jones got the ball punched out at the 12-yard line, and the Giants cashed it in for 7. And the thing is Dave Thompson just asked, why was Jones never seen? Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't get much action after that. Rojo, and we've seen this now, John, for the last 2 games. This is a real hidden storyline. Yeah. But Rojo starts off, something happens, and Fournette ends up being the more productive running back. Ronald Jones finished the night 7 carries, 23 yards, 3.3 yard average. A 5-yard run was his longest run of the day. 4 catches, 23 yards, a very pedestrian 5.8 yards per catch. And of course, the fumble. And then you have Leonard Fournette come in and double the number of carries, 15 for 52 yards. Didn't do a whole bunch with them. The offensive line didn't get the push that I expected them to. 3.5 yards per carry, and then of course had 3 catches for 19 yards. But what we're seeing is I think we're seeing maybe the transition, and it's kind of funny because when Fournette was on the sidelines and not available, right? We saw Ronald Jones become a 100-yard back for 3 weeks in a row, John, and all of a sudden now that Fournette is back, something's happened, and Ronald Jones just has not been nearly as effective. and he's seeing his carries go to Fournette now, especially in the second halves of these games.
Those 3 games by Ronald Jones when Fournette was out were just ridiculous. Like, I don't know what he was. I mean, obviously the past game, it was still horrible, but he was awesome. I mean, he was legitimately making people miss all over the field in the run game. That has somehow never translated, Scott. It's never translated to the passing game. I mean, he catches a pass tonight out in the flat early in the game, and you're just like, here we go, one-on-one. He's got 5 yards of space. He can set up a move. You're an athlete, man. Like, be an athlete, and he just can't do it. It doesn't translate for him to the pass game. And, you know, I don't think Fournette was great tonight, but he's just, I mean, he dropped a pass, and he dropped 2 actually, you know, but he was better. And honestly, the Bucs, one thing they have to do, Scott, stop prioritizing getting the ball in the running back's hands. I know you hate to take the screen game out, but you're bad at them. First of all, the execution and timing is terrible. And second of all, these guys don't make anyone miss in space. You got to stop trying to get them the ball by design. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, they're kind of the same guy a little bit, Rojo and Fournette, in the fact that they don't have a lot of wiggle to them. They have a little bit of power to them. And, you know, John, we have quite the super chat there.
Wow, Narendra, thank you. Clutch. Rojo is better, tougher runner than others, and DBs need to be better. I will say this. I think Rojo is better, but at the same time, it's like
he's got to show it.
It just comes back to who beats you less. This team is too good to play a running back who beats you more often than another one. Like, and that's, I mean, the Bucs running backs have been indefensible in the pass game this year. It is not hard to find somebody who can just be consistently just catch the ball and and just get upfield. Like, and for almost every game this season, they've been disappointing in some fashion or another. It's just crazy to watch it over and over again. And I do like Ronald Jones. I do think he's the more talented runner, but at the same time, he continues to be kind of the guy that shoots the team in the foot too often, and the team's too good for players like that.
We just got a shout out from India. Thank you, Nadera.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
We've had a couple people watching from all over tonight, and we've got a ton of people watching live, and we super appreciate y'all. I know some people were saying that from other countries that were going to watch us, they were saying it'll be like it'll be the middle of the night, you know, where I am. And so it was like, okay, well, you know, catch it in the morning and everything. And you can Pewter Report TV, go rewatch it. If you're only able to join us for a little bit and you're listening to the podcast or whatever, and you want to watch it, whatever, but you know, definitely go check us out at Pewter Report TV, subscribe, hit that bell, get the notifications for when we go live. We do this 4 days a week. We're going live talking Bucs, and we're going to do it in the off season too. You're going to get all the draft and off season content you could ever ask for right here on the Pewter Report podcast. So make sure y'all check that out for sure. Scott, I know you emphasized the first down runs, and you talked about how disappointing they were. And I think it comes back to the backs are part of it, but also we knew this going in. I don't think the Bucs offensive line is a unit that is constructed to remove people off the ball. That is not what they do. It's not saying that they're not physical. They are physical, but they are not a big offensive line. They are not a mauling offensive line. They play nasty. Absolutely. They play physical, but Ryan Jensen is a smaller center. You know, Ali Marpet and Alex Kappa are not big guards. This is not a team that's going to
330-pound guys.
They're not built like that. They're not built like the Jaguars offensive line when Leonard Fournette was there. They didn't assemble their team that way. And frankly, that's brilliant. It's why they're so good in pass protection. They prioritize the right thing. But
John, they prioritize the left thing. When you look at this offensive line and how it's constructed, Donovan Smith, obviously a left tackle at Penn State. Ali Marpet was a left tackle at Hobart College. Ryan Jensen was a left tackle at Northern Colorado. Alex Kappa was a left tackle at Sacramento State. Or no, where's he from? I'm having a
who'd you say?
Alex Kappa.
Alex Kappa was Humboldt State. Yeah, Humboldt State. Yep.
There we go. And then Tristan Wirfs is a right tackle, but he's played a little bit of left tackle too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? Because they have an offensive line that is better in pass protection because of all these guys that played the left tackle, and they've got some athleticism. But you're right, John. They're not the maulers that maybe a Tristan Wirfs kind of is, and I think will continue to develop into. as his NFL career goes on.
Right. And I don't love the Bucs run scheme. I've made no secret about that really. Like, I think it's just, to me, I would, but again, I don't think the backs are necessarily a fit for much either, so I think it's just hard. Like, you're just not going to be a team that's built around the run. So you just have to, it's hard because you want to balance it and you do want to work some runs in. And at times you do hit some because you do have that talent that's there, but just at the same time,
don't do it on first down every friggin' time, right?
Exactly, Johnny? Right. And when clearly, I think late in the game, you were having so much success throwing the ball that it was feeling like waste of plays to do that. And the Giants were loading up, and the Giants are so good in the interior at stopping the run. And so you were just kind of playing to their strengths, and that was amplified on the 3rd and 1, right? I mean, that was the Giants literally were in a bare front with 3 guys essentially in the A gaps. I mean, if there's one, they're ready for the quarterback sneak. And the Bucs just ran right there. And it's just kind of like, man, you got to just think outside the box a little bit more there. If you need to call timeout, whatever, but that's a big conversion. If you convert that, the Giants never have a chance to drive down really in that game. Cause remember, they were already using their timeouts. So
where's Shady McCoy? Mitch Jamura wants to know. Where's Shady McCoy?
He is on the bench, left bench, where he belongs. Shady McCoy's time, I believe, unless there's an injury, I think his time is over. Wouldn't even surprise me to see him not make it to the season, although I guess he's popular in the locker room, so maybe he's a guy that they keep around.
I think too is, he didn't dress for the Super Bowl, right? I think he was inactive for the Super Bowl with the Chiefs and was also inactive for the playoffs too. So I think history is repeating itself here for Shady McCoy as we're seeing Leonard Fournette really take over that 3rd down role.
Right. And he's honestly his insurance policy in case something happens to one of the Bucs starting running backs, a veteran they feel like they could lean on, even if he hasn't quite proven it this season. But
Did I hear insurance?
Yes, you heard insurance, Scott. And is proving it this season is our friends over at Briar Greaves, as you found out recently when you gave Briar Greaves Insurance.com a call. There are still some hurricanes forming in the Gulf. Don't wait to review your insurance policies. Call Briar Greaves Insurance, which is family-owned and has served the greater Tampa Bay area for 30 years. For your home, auto, boat, life, commercial, and flood insurance needs, a lot of homeowner companies are canceling, not renewing policies, leaving Florida, or increasing premiums significantly. Call Briar Greaves and speak directly to Briar or Sam for a personalized touch for information on the best rates. The folks at Briar Greaves Insurance are big fans of the Buccaneers. You go in, you're going to talk some Bucs football with them, and they're proud sponsors of the Pewter Report podcast on pewterreport.com. Visit briargreavesinsurance.com or call 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166 today. One other thing I wanted to talk about, we touched on this, Scott, but pass protection, for the majority of this game, I felt like there were a couple times in this game where Brady had to hold on to the football. Giants coverage was really good tonight. I really think they should get a ton of credit because it's not a group that's played well. Jabril Peppers played out of his mind. You talked about some of the plays at the catch point that they made down the field. That throw to Scotty Miller's on the money. He has a step, and that defensive back recovered, timed it up, knocked that ball away 9 times out of 10. That's a catch. And so that was a great play by Isaac Yiadom, I think, who's had honestly a pretty tough start to his career up and down for him, more down than up. And so he made plays tonight. Jabril Peppers made a couple plays. People said, incomplete in that Tanner Hudson throw. I think I even tweeted something like Tanner Hudson on 3rd down, like in the game. Like, I don't, Gronk not on the field. I don't think it's just like, what? But at the same time, Brady put that ball in a perfect spot for Tanner Hudson, and Jabril Peppers just came over and made an awesome play, knocked it away. Down the sideline later in the game, made a play, knocked it away. I thought he played outstanding. But late in the game, the Giants couldn't get to Brady because the offensive line was so good. He had to buy time, slide a few times, wait. Remember the conversion to Jaden Mickens on the 4th down? All these, exactly right. He has lanes, they're controlling guys, they're sustaining blocks, they're they're steering guys out of the way. I mean, it was masterful in those key moments. And the Giants blitzed a couple times, and there's some hot guys coming free on the blitzer, the blitz at times, and Jones and Brady has to get the ball out, and that's part of it. But for the most part, man, I mean, this unit dominated tonight again, and it's that and Brady to me are the biggest reasons that they won. I mean, I don't think you can point to the obviously the things on the Giants side of it, the mistakes they made, but for the Bucs perspective, the Brady and the offensive line was the reason that I thought that they won this game.
Well, and the other thing too, I want to point out about Tom Brady, and so he had 2 touchdowns tonight. That puts him at 20 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
And and so we're not trying to bury Jameis Winston, but it's like we have to talk about the difference between 6-2 and 2-6 or 3-5 is the lack of turnovers on offense. The Buccaneers aren't beating themselves, and John, it's not just throwing interceptions that got Jameis Winston in so much trouble in his Tampa Bay tenure. It was also the fumbles. Okay, this is a guy that, according to Pro Football Reference, had 50 fumbles. He had 12 last year, 7 the year before, a career high 15 in 2017. And you look at Tom Brady, when he takes sacks, he protects the football. He goes into that old man fetal position. And that's one thing that now he's not perfect, right? But he's not exposing the football when the pressure's around him and he knows he's going to get sacked. He's not trying to do something reckless, and he does a really good job of protecting the ball. So if you sack Tom Brady, you're not typically going to get the sack fumble that we've seen, unfortunately, from Winston for years in Tampa. And so it's the interceptions that were plaguing him and the Bucs offense. It was also some of those really untimely fumbles. And so no interceptions from Brady, also getting sacked twice on those covered sacks, no fumbles. And that's big.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Every time Brady gets sacked in a game, Brady's obviously hated by most fan bases and because he owned him for 20 years. And so I get it. But every time it happens, people on Twitter, all you have to do is pressure Brady and you can have success, like because he got sacked one time. I'm like, do you know how much harder this is than you're making it sound? Like, hey, you blitz Brady, he'll beat it most of the time with his mind and his processing. Like, so it doesn't work very often. That's why hardly anybody does it. And most people have to rely on, doing it timely and getting pressure with 4 and have for years. That's been the recipe. Like, certainly, yes, Brady's not going to escape, but he moves really well in the pocket and he doesn't throw picks under pressure and he doesn't fumble the ball under pressure. And so like sometimes taking a sack is okay. And that's where people like Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones got to learn that they're not learning, and so people watch the games and they rip Brady whenever that happens. But sometimes like, those are sacks. Those are plays you got to take. You got to have that happen. And you didn't make the costly mistake think about when they scored, they went field goal, touchdown. Then they had a punt. They had a 3 and out. And Brady took a sack on that drive because nothing was there. You saw the replay. There's nothing there for Brady on that drive and on that play, on that 3rd down. And so he takes the sack, but he doesn't make a back-breaking mistake that gives the Giants the ball down there and that, and he lets them punt it away. Then they get the ball back and they're able to score and they're able to go up and they're able to win the game. So it's exactly what you're saying. Like in a game like this, if Tom Brady had a turnover, it honestly might have, that's the kind of thing that it might have cost him the game. It might have. And there's just no way Jameis or other options too out there in the league. I mean, I just mentioned Wentz and Daniel Jones. Those guys have turnovers in a game like this. Brady doesn't consistently do that. Consistently, that's not something he does. And it's a big reason why the Bucs cannot play that well in a game like they didn't tonight and still win, because he's not going to be the guy that beats you at the quarterback position. And it helps that he also kind of balled out at the end of the game and made some great plays too.
And John, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I think we saw tonight why this team got Antonio Brown, and why they went out and did that. Because again, without Chris Godwin, it just seems like this offense doesn't click like it does when he's in the lineup. And and yes, Tom Brady was off on a lot of those passes, not a lot, but his fair share of passes in the first half for sure. Settled down in the second half. But the thing is John, you don't want to be targeting Jaden Mickens 8 times, 5 catches for 36 yards. If you swap him out for Antonio Brown, Brown's going to do a lot more with those targets. He's going to do a lot more with those catches. And so I just think that you're seeing now why, and Mike Evans, struggled tonight against Bradbury. That wasn't, that was not a surprise. Bradbury has done a really good job of kind of, owning Evans more than any other cornerback. But Evans had the last laugh with a touchdown. But I think we're seeing why the Bucs are going, with Antonio Brown on Sunday night against the Saints. He's going to play. and I'm predicting he's going to get a touchdown in this first game. Hell, he got a touchdown in his first game with Brady in a first and only game.
Right.
Up there with the Patriots. So why not?
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Chris Godwin is obviously huge for this offense. People noticed that tonight. You see Jaden Mickens stepping up. We already talked about the play Godwin would have made. The Mickens didn't. There was a big one that probably could easily have resulted in a scoring drive there early in the game. And so, I think that you're right. Chris Godwin's so important to the offense. I do think him coming back is clutch. I also felt like in this game they found a way to get those plays without Chris Godwin, and so that's a great sign. I think they're getting better at getting the short to intermediate stuff. Really, when they don't, when they haven't in this season, it's been because of drops. Usually that's been the problem, or because they were in third and long. But when they're in manageable down and distance situations, they've been a lot better at converting those. And I think that other guys are stepping up. It was weird. I texted at halftime, right? I think it were before halftime, maybe, when we're seeing why they signed, AB. I texted the Pewter Report chat, and obviously I was like, I don't think that this team needs AB, but again, without Chris Godwin, you're right. Like, that is something like tonight was revealed. But then in the second half, you all said Tyler Johnson step up. You Rob Gronkowski emerge again and make some clutch combat catches. You can do some clutch things in that second half. Mike Evans drew the big flag and had a couple great plays, and obviously an awesome catch on the touchdown. I know he dropped a 2-point conversion, and that almost was a huge mistake in this game. But I think, altogether, I wouldn't say that they necessarily have to have those guys to win, but certainly it's going to be, you're right, it's going to be way tougher to defend. Brady has shown he is never going to lock on to a receiver. We've seen that. It's not even a surprise at this point to see 8 guys caught a ball, and I think every single one had more than one catch tonight. He doesn't care who you are, where you're from. Doesn't matter. If you're the guy that's open on the play, and the read and the defense and what is being dictated in front of him tells him that you should get the ball, you're getting the ball, and you got to make a play. So the Bucs are trying to put as many good players in those positions as they can, so that you don't end up with drops like they had so often tonight. So I get it. It's a good formula. It's just something that I think they're going to have to continue to iron out with the chemistry.
John, speaking of balls, we have our game ball segment coming up. It's sponsored by Manscaped, of course. So let me tell you about this little beauty right here. Okay, this is the Lawnmower 3.0. And I tell you, I did it, John.
Does some work, man.
It does.
Does some work.
Manscaped was great. They gave each one of us, yourself, myself, Cookie, Grizz, Matt Matera, a fantastic Manscaped kit. And it comes with this great travel bag and all sorts of products as well. The big thing is the Lawnmower 3.0, this bad boy right here. But they've got the Reviver, they've got the ball toner. It's a fantastic kit. And John, with the holiday season coming up, it's a fantastic gift. And matter of fact, I just made a purchase tonight. I sent one to I'm not going to reveal his name, but I'll reveal it tomorrow. But I've already ordered from Manscaped. And listen, guys, football is back. And that means it's time to throw in your team colors and make sure you don't fumble your grooming below your waist. Our partners at Manscaped are here to save your boys from a big hit, so you stay clean and you take care of yourself where it matters most. Manscaped is here with a surefire touchdown with the best tools for your grooming experience. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. John, I used it once, and I got to admit, I was a touch skeptical, and it performed like a dream.
Clutch.
It is. So
it is. I'm extremely impressed. Not that I'm surprised, but extremely impressed. This thing is mint. It's a terrific purchase.
It really is. And so, listen, we get a 95% male audience, right? And guys, the holiday season's coming up, and if your significant other is saying, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for the holiday season? This Manscaped, it's the real deal. And the great thing about it is the ceramic blade and the skin-safe technology. Your snags are going to be reduced. Now, I got to admit, I did have a little bit of a nick, but I didn't read the instructions, which is go slow. Slow and steady wins the race. And I found out the hard way. It had nothing to do with this. It was my fault.
This is a tortoise greater than hair situation.
Most definitely. But the cool thing is the perfect package 3.0 is what we're talking about. And you get the lawnmower. This thing's waterproof. You can take it in the shower. You got the cordless body trimmer, performance boxer briefs, the travel bag for when you're done quarantining. And it also comes with the Crop Reviver and the Crop Preserver. The Crop Preserver is the anti-chafing ball deodorant, which ensures that your afternoon stroll doesn't end up with your ball sticking to your leg. And that's just a fact. So here's the thing. You can get 20% off by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code PEWTER. That's PEWTER, P-W-T-E-R. Manscaped.com. They're going to give you 20% off, and you're going to get free shipping. So it's a great deal. Take advantage of this limited time offer for Manscaped's Pro Bowl lineup and try it for yourself. So whether it's for a gift for somebody else, your brother, your dad, your uncle, your granddad, your college roommate, whoever, it's a fantastic gift. So get 20% off free shipping with the promo code PEWTER at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and a free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the promo code PEWTER. Football season is here. It's time to audible from the ordinary and choose Manscaped for your most important male grooming needs. Now, John, we're going to offer a free Pewter Report t-shirt on top of this offer.
Yes.
For the first 10 people that take care of this and go to manscaped.com and enter promo code Pewter and sign up for Manscaped, whether it's for you or a gift, okay, you're going to get a free Pewter Report t-shirt. All you have to do is forward your receipt to me at sr@pewterreport.com. sr@pewterreport.com. Forward that. It doesn't have any of your credit card information. Don't worry about it. And all your information, your address and stuff will be kept private. But we need that to send a t-shirt to. And I'll communicate with you, and we'll get your t-shirt size and all that. And I think we've got white, black, and gray to choose from. Really cool pewterreport.com t-shirts. And we had that as a gift. So that's only for the first 10 people that sign up. Manscaped.com, promo code Pewter. Send me your receipt. Email it to me at sr@pewterreport.com, and I'll send you a free pewterreport.com t-shirt.
Wow. 20% off, free shipping, the awesome lawnmower, and the whole kit that comes with it, and a Pewter Report t-shirt.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Christmas comes early when you're 6 and 2.
You got to pull the trigger on this deal. I'm telling you, man. This is awesome. All right. Our game balls, Scott. We got to get to our game balls.
Yep.
Tough one. I got to put on my positive cap because game balls are positive. Okay. One offense, one defense is typically what we do. I'll stick with it, although I know Ryan Succop deserves that shot out. We gave him his love. Let's not overdo it.
Yep.
We don't want to jinx him.
He is a kicker after all.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But the Bucs offensive line, that's where I'm going. I got to give them a game ball. I guess I'm giving out 5, but that's a unit. I mean, it worked that way together. There isn't one dominant pass rusher on the Giants team. So yes, it made life easier for them. But like I said, there were a few times where Brady really had to hold on to the ball to make plays. You know, I think about the 4th down conversion to Mickens to get him a field goal on that drive. I think about the 18-yard completion to Rob Gronkowski. I don't remember what down it was. Both of those plays, I thought that group tongue in so tough. A couple others throughout the game.
1-yard pass to Tyler Johnson on that 1st and 20.
That's right. Yep. They were great. They were awesome, and I think they deserve the game ball. Defensively, oh boy, this is a tough one because not many people played very well on the defensive side of the ball. And I'll probably steal yours, but one of the only guys who didn't make many mistakes tonight and made a clutch play at the end of the game to win it was Antoine Winfield. I thought he was really, really good. You think even back to the first half, the Giants ran that, I forget now, was it an end around or something like that when they were after the Rojo fumble? And then they bounced to the opposite side of the field, and Winfield just comes screaming across the field. And then later in the game, he makes a stop then. And then later in the game on the 2-point conversion, I know Jones was a little bit late with the throw maybe, but I mean, Winfield's closing speed just shocked him, I think. I mean, I think he just didn't think anybody was going to be there. So he was trying to make this perfect throw. And Winfield's ability to read that across the field and get there in time was special traits. I think we're seeing a special player in the Bucs defense.
Definitely. It might make sense for me to give it to Tom Brady. Again, we've talked about the 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did enough to win the game. But I'm going to go with Mike Evans, right? He's still not 100%. I mean, he just isn't. That was a nasty ankle sprain. And this guy has not taken a game off. And, he came up big in the second half, John. 5 catches, 55 yards. He had a big 20-yard catch. He had the touchdown, which was an amazing catch, as Tom Brady said on the Zoom conference call after the game, a clutch catch over James Bradbury, who's kind of been his kryptonite. He's been his nemesis. And so for me to see Mike get that, plus a very important pass interference call on Bradbury, really stepped up when the Bucs needed him to, and helped get this win. So I'm going to give a game ball to Mike Evans, who's just gutting it out this season. He doesn't care about the 1,000 yards. He wants the playoffs. He wants a chance for a Super Bowl. And so I'm going to give it to him. Defensively, yeah, Winfield certainly deserves that. But you know what? I'm going to give it to Jason Pierre-Paul. Jason Pierre-Paul did have a sack. He's at 6.5 for the season. He also set up a sack for Ndamukong Suh. He had 2 tackles for loss. He was really motivated to play. I don't think he played exceptionally well in the run game. And I think that because the Giants were so balanced, it allowed Andrew Thomas, the rookie from Georgia, to kind of lean on him. And that's what Andrew Thomas does best. He's from Georgia. They run the ball at Georgia. So he was able to kind of tire Jason Pierre-Paul out a little bit, but he had enough in the tank in the second half to come up with 7 tackles, which tied Jamel Dean, Winfield, and Devin White and Jordan Whitehead for the team lead. But he did enough with the quarterback hit, a sack, and then, as I said, setting up that sack for Ndamukong Suh. Got to give it to JPP for his return to New York as the Buccaneers escape from New York with a narrow win to move to 6-2.
Yeah, he did. He played big in the second half. I'll give him that. I was tough on him in the first half, but he stepped up in the second half, made some big time plays. It shouldn't have come down to what it came down to, Scott, but
yes,
you got to win. The NFL, at the end of the day, it is about winning and finishing. And the Bucs did that.
If you missed the beginning of the show, I went down the rundown. You can check out the 2002 schedule. Go back and look. There's a lot of close, ugly ugly wins. A couple ugly losses, including one that Sean King started against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. That was an ugly 17-7 loss. That was actually at Raymond James Stadium. Yeah. But there were some ugly wins that season. Sometimes you got to win ugly, John, to get into the playoffs. And you look at the Saints, who the Bucs are playing on Sunday. They have had some real squeakers, including an overtime win at Chicago that was not pretty either. But good teams find a way to win. This Buccaneer team lost when they should have won against the Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football, and they win a game in ugly fashion against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Saints have barely beaten the Lions, barely beaten the Panthers. They've been squeaking them out, and they've been winning, but it's been ugly. And so, next week is going to be really interesting. To me, there clearly is no dominant team in the NFC. Seattle just can't defend. And Nick Mullins gets in the game and almost leads them to Nick Mullins almost led the 49ers. I mean, they just can't defend. They have an unbelievable offense. So I'll give them that. Packers lose to the Vikings. It is just, it's a weird year. There's no dominant team.
It's going to come down to who's hot in December, right?
Yeah.
It's going to come down to who's got the momentum heading into the playoffs. Right. And we talk about the Giants and the Bucs. Now I'll end with this. Back in 2007, the Buccaneers won the NFC South with a 9-7 record. Jeff Garcia was the quarterback, was a Pro Bowl quarterback that year. Didn't turn the ball over, made enough plays for them to win, had a really good defense that year. And the New York Giants came down to Raymond James Stadium, and they won that year. And they knocked the Bucs out of the playoffs in the first round on the road. And then they went on the road 2 more times, John, and they got to the Super Bowl with 3 straight road wins. Why? Because the Giants that year were the hot team at the end of the year. And right now the Buccaneers are far from peaking. And, the way this schedule sets up, they're getting into the murderer's row now. The Saints, the Panthers on the road, the Rams on Monday Night Football at home, the Chiefs on a Sunday night afternoon game at Ray J. Mm-hmm. Then you look at, can you finish against some lesser teams? Can you avoid playing to the level of your competition? Minnesota Vikings at home, Atlanta Falcons on the road, Detroit Lions on the road, and then you've got the Falcons at home to end the season. So
And all those teams are still playing tough. I mean, teams are still playing tough. We'll see what the situation is at the end of the year. I know the records go down and guys end up getting put on IR a lot of the time in those situations, and teams start to, tank quietly. But you're right. This 4-game stretch, we're going to learn a lot about the Bucs in this 4-game stretch. I mean, not saying they're going to win all 4 of them, but Saints, Panthers, Rams, Chiefs. We're going to learn a lot about him and what the ceiling is for this team. And Antonio Brown, hopefully Chris Godwin next week. We got a ton to talk about this week. We'll be back actually to today.
Tomorrow.
I mean, it's technically Tuesday. Yeah. So Tuesday, 4 p.m. we'll be live, and we'll have more on this win, more looking ahead. And then Wednesday, we'll really look ahead in our preview show. We'll preview Bucs Saints. Scott and I will break it down in depth, lots of stats and details on that game and the matchup stuff. It'll be a ton of fun. We always have a blast with that show. And then Thursday, we'll be back and hopefully have a guest on that show talking a little bit about the matchup, but also some things going on with the Bucs as well. So
here's the thing. You want to go to pewterreport.com right now. We have some content coming up tonight. I'll have my 2-point conversion coming up in the morning, and then we'll have, sooner rather than later, John, 4 o'clock we'll get here Eastern time, and we'll be back for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And anything at the trade deadline, Scott, is anything going to happen? Bucs going to do anything?
So.
I don't think so either. I wouldn't mind seeing some pass rush help, but it's easier said than done. At the end of the day, I don't know. You got to see who's available, but at the end of the day, there just aren't that many impactful pass rushers hanging around. Just the reality, and the Bucs don't have a cap space to really make a move for a difference maker. So we'll see what happens. Great with all you joining and jumping on the show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Great show.
We love you guys.
Beautiful turnout. Pewter Nation is strong, hanging with the Bucs after a tough win. I don't know if you can say that at this point. You take them all 6-2 and heading into a tough 4-game stretch. Going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be bringing it to you right here on the Pewter Report podcast. So for Scott Reynolds and John Ledyard, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.